Hi there. Sarah, NextGEN Medium. I'm a psychic medium intuitive. That's right. Where my coffee at? I already need coffee. This is kind of old coffee, unfortunately. Chewy. I think there was something in it. Ugh. Okay. Hi, we're talking about empaths again this episode. Last episode we did that. We're going to do it again this episode. This episode, we're also going to have an example of one person's uh, email that they sent me, and they said I had permission to use it here for the podcast today. So I swear there was something in that coffee. So I thought it would be great to use their example because there's some stuff in there that I want to show you is her perspective, and then kind of present my perspective of how she's dealing with her empath stuff, how she's seeing it versus what I kind of get from it. Um, Also going to dive more into your responsibility as someone who feels you have heightened clairempathic abilities. Um, what else? The steps you can do beyond just being in the moment and realizing that you're already being affected. How to kind of prevent that. Um, yeah, so that's the stuff we're going to kind of go into. No, that is the stuff we're going to go into. Let me get my recording going. All right, we're in it. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to choose empath again is because there's more to talk about. But uh, there's a reason why empath has been a problem for me in the past, and it really has to do with its popularity and people not understanding that that's part of the soul abilities world. That is actually a part of your intuition, is having clairempathy. That can even be a part of mediumship. Psychic? No, I don't think psychic so much. I think clairsentience might be more a part of that, but nonetheless, this is a like opening the door to your soul abilities. And when people use the word empath, I'm not sure if it's understood that that is a part of this unseen world, and that this is sort of you being able to open that door, and I'm not sure if you're aware that you know that door is open, if you can, call yourself an empath. So, what you're gonna notice through the episode is I'm actually gonna use Claire empathy, Claire empathetic, Claire empathy, I think I just said that, but, to stress that this is a soul ability and those or a soul sense, and that, Claire, maybe saying that enough will kind of hit the nail on the head for people when they don't understand that there's that connection. I'll be going into that, don't you worry. There's my co-host, the furnace. I think I'm gonna call him Fred the Furnace, and that way, I don't know, I can just call him Fred. It'll be your thing and my thing. Nobody else will understand it, right? Okay. So like I said, I'm gonna use, something, someone emailed me, and, if you email me something, it could spur another podcast episode, so feel free to reach out to me. And, I always wanna keep things confidential, even if you're like, "Oh, I don't mind you saying my name, where I'm from, my Social Security number." Like, I'm not first of all, I don't have your Social Security number, but second of all, that just doesn't feel right to me to kind of use identifying information so much. So, I'm really gonna keep it cool, and confidential. So let's go ahead and get started on this episode. Uh, oh, um programming note, if there's past episodes that haven't come up on the vlog, it's because I'm having difficulties with my software. For some reason, it doesn't want to record the whole thing, and then I'll have issues, and then it won't let me do anything. So let's cross our fingers and hope this gets out to the world, because I'm sure there's lots of people with empath abilities that would like to hear this stuff. Okay, let's start the episode going into podcast mode. I'd really prefer that furnace not going. You guys can't hear the furnace, but with the podcast, you can. I don't know why. I would like Fred to stop. He's so rude. Come on, Fred. Fred. Oh, this coffee is awful. Coffee's not doing it for me today. I don't know what's going on. Okay. You know what, Fred? You can't have me starting swearing already. Like, I gotta have a little bit of couth when I first start the show. All right, let's do this. Your clairempathetic skills are great for gaining perspective and compassion. Your empathetic powers are also great for creating emotional instability for yourself. This episode, we're going to talk more about the empath thing, controlling your empathetic soul ability. This episode, I'm going to give you an example of one person who's reached out to me. She sent me an email, and I want to tell you her perception of her empath abilities. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you my perspective of her perspective. We're also going to learn other ways that you can control your clairempathy that goes beyond just reacting in the moment when you realize what's happening. Because you have lots of control, you have lots of responsibility being an empath, and we're going to talk about that on this episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Hey, Sarah here, NextGEN Medium. I'm a psychic medium intuitive. Another way to put that is I've realized my psychic medium intuitive abilities. I believe that these are abilities oh my God, words. I believe there is an open invitation for you to find your abilities, your soul abilities. It could be mediumship, it could be psychic, it could be just intuitive, it could be all the things. And then there's more. But I'm here to raise awareness of this invitation. I also want to help you. I also want to help guide you to the doorway so that you can step through and have a hand to be there, to hold, to help you through, to help you understand what's going on, but also a hand to guide you past that threshold and into your journey, your soul journey. And I can help you with that. There's a lot of things about your soul journey that is on your own shoulders, but I can help you to some extent get there, move past it, and go through it. Go to it. This episode, we're talking more about empath, that trendy word that kind of, what's the word? Oh my God, I should not be doing this right now. My brain can't. Today, we're talking about empath again. I don't want to say today. This episode, we're talking about empath again. There's an example I want to give you. I want to talk about the example because if you feel like that image looks terrible. Why did I put that on the blog post? Ugh. All right, I got to focus today. Today's not a good day for focus. I can already tell. Ugh. Okay, what am I doing? Here we are talking about empath again. There was a time when I was not okay with empath, and now here I am doing a part 2 about empath. I see a couple of great things about the word empath. I used to not. So, why am I bringing the word empath into the conversation? Because I see it as a way to bring people to me so we can talk about empath because I want to make sure that people understand what empath really means and what it could really implicate. So, if you're using the word empath and you've read about empath and it really connects with you, I do take on people's emotions. That would be sort of an example of how you could be empathetic. Um, totally lost my train of thought right there. This is gonna be a difficult one, you guys. Oh, and I got pipes ticking, and it's a cold day in Bangor, Maine today. In the epitome of cold winter right now. Empathy is the word that we're talking about. Okay. So if this word has brought you here, this is what you need to know. Empath is actually a soul sense, psychic sense, if you will. Clairempathy is a soul ability. And knowing that, we can open you up to the bigger, wider, wilder world. Oh my God, why do I do this to myself? Of the soul abilities and the abilities and the abilities that you might not know you have. And if you can say empath is one of your things, then I bet there's a whole lot of other things for you to explore and to discover and uncover. And it's so exciting. Okay. So let's talk more about Claire empathy. So, what is Claire empathy in case you missed the last episode, or maybe you need a refresher? Claire empathy is taking on other people's emotions. You absorb their energy, it becomes your energy. Your energy is influenced by their energy. It can also take form in pain or condition. So if someone is feeling pain, like their arm hurts, your arm might start hurting because you are absorbing the information that you're putting out there. You're putting your bubble out there. It's absorbing that information from someone else's energy bubble that your bubble is encroaching in on. And you're receiving that information and it is becoming a part of you. Your senses are taking this on. It is information that you are taking in. Okay, there. So that is the ability, clair empathy. Having a heightened clair empathetic ability can be very difficult when it is not understood by the empath or controlled by the empath. You might feel like you are emotionally unstable. You're emotional, you don't know why. It comes on all of a sudden and it stays with you. And then it slowly kind of disappears. And then it was like, what the hell happened? Why was I such a mess yesterday? I don't get it. Let's be clear that the emotions you're taking on is someone else's energy. And that different emotions take on certain levels of energy. Your emotions as a highly receptive clair empath are influenced by the energies of others, not your own emotional response. So let's go into an example of a client I did a reading on. She emailed me back. She and I have been corresponding, and she's actually going to come up in another episode. She's just so full of great stuff that I want to bring to you guys because she has a lot of stuff in her story of her own journey that I think connects with a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I want to say her name, but I want to keep that confidentiality thing. That's my responsibility as a, you know, person who does sittings and readings. But We're gonna look at her story, and I want you to be able to connect with her story. What is it that you guys have in common? Okay. Ugh. Okay. So I often have people reach out to me about their clairempathetic situations, especially when I bring up the word empath in the podcast or on the blog. Then people want to be like, "Hey, I think that's me." And then they'll tell me a little bit, and then uh it starts a conversation, it starts a correspondence. One reason people reach out to me is that they want validation that these are empathetic abilities, that they are an empath. Another reason is because there's a sense that their empath ability has taken on a life of its own and the it affects them very negatively. So that's what I find when people wanna correspond with me about this, or it comes up in a reading, or it comes up doing a development session. Okay. So here's an email from a client of mine, and we're gonna call her Claire. Yeah, I did that. To keep we wanna keep her I wanna keep her anonymous, so we're gonna call her Claire, and she said I could pass the story along to you, and I wanted to include this as an example for you to be able to relate to her story and situation. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna do it. All right, here's her story. She says, I feel like I have a lot of feels. I am a hairstylist and come into contact with many ladies. I hear lots of deeply personal things. So my question is so my question here is it normal to feel someone's feelings as soon as they walk in? By the time a client leaves, I would be left with what I thought they might be feeling good, what they might be feeling, good or bad. Now I feel it right away. Sometimes if a person is bleh, sometimes if a person is going through a hard time in life, I feel the weight of that feeling long after they're gone. What should I do with this? Okay. So here's what's going on with Claire from Claire's perspective. She understands her situation to be one of a highly receptive empath. Or just to put it differently, but mean the same thing, high sensitivity in her Claire empath soul sense. Okay. She's aware of her own ability. And if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, then you are aware too. That's how you came across this. Okay. So you're searching out for it. You have curiosity. You're even aware of this concept. Okay. So we're going to get to that in a second. But okay. So she is aware of her own ability, and she's even able to discern that she's becoming more sensitive to its presence. She also feels its impact is a part of her for some time. She is obviously feeling heavily burdened with taking on her clients' emotions, and she wants to know, what should I do with this? Okay. So that's kind of a quick synopsis to clarify what's going on. I got to do an episode about the jobs you choose and dealing with all the Claires and all that stuff with the different jobs, because what's interesting, I'm not going to put this in the podcast. You guys get to hear this. I did a reading on another lady who's going through the same situation, but her job is she is a police officer. So imagine like what she comes across, and she has to break up fights, or there's, like domestic issues, or, she comes across this negative energy all the time. And for this lady in particular that I'm talking about, the police officer, she within the past year, things have been transforming for her. I think her senses are heightening. She's becoming more aware of them. And so now her job as a police officer is just becoming like way too much for her. And it's just such an interesting thing to think about the different jobs that we choose for ourselves and how we have to deal with having the jobs, but also having these heightened senses. And um, luckily for me, I've never had like a high a job where I'm like face to face with a lot of people in intense kind of circumstances, not even like scary situations like being a police officer, but in even a hairstylist, you have this close proximity. You're spending an hour with an individual person and then they're gone and then there's another person that comes in. I don't think I've ever had a job. Oh, I was a tattoo artist, so I guess there is something to that, but it is interesting to think about the different kind of jobs that I come across of people. But I will say a lot of them do have in common is that they are people persons. They deal directly with people, and people are coming to me because things are getting uncomfortable. I'm helping to provide some sort of solution for them. So I'm going to put that out there. Okay, I'm not including that in the podcast, but okay. Um so here's what's happening with Claire from my perspective. I look at Claire's story and there's a lot of parallels I see in her story to other stories I've come across in the readings I've done, in the development sessions I do, and even the random emails that come in. So, looking specifically at Claire's story, let me point some stuff out. It seems like going off of my experience, that's my truth, that's what I bring to this. Claire has become more aware of her abilities as a clairempath. Her perception that they happen quicker, that she receives quicker, and that her reception is stronger tells me she's putting more attention to this ability than she has before. I think she's had this level of heightened ability, what seems to her to be more heightened than it used to be. I believe she's always had this level of heightened ability the whole time, but her extra attention to these abilities is now making the situation more clear and more true to what has been happening around her and what is actually happening around her. And now she's seeing her abilities more accurately, more true to form, what they've been the whole time, but her awareness is now her focus is now more open. But now she's more focused on it. That's what I want to say. From her description, Claire is able to feel the energy of someone else as soon as they enter the salon. Her clairempathy is able to detect as soon as someone enters her space, even if it's across the room. I think what she's experiencing is her, quote, area of reception that is filling the entire room. So this area of reception, it's variable and you control that area of reception. But for her, it's filling the entire room. So whoever walks into that room will be an influence on her clairempathy, on that soul ability. Also, Claire understands that the emotion her clairempathy takes on stays with her. She's also decided that she doesn't want that. Claire is aware of the sensitivity of her clairempathetic abilities, but she doesn't understand. But she doesn't understand the mechanics of how they work or understand the control she has in her empath abilities. Okay, breaking it down, giving a little perspective. From her perspective, she's noticing an increase in her abilities, an increase in sensitivity of her abilities. From my perspective, she's always been that sensitive. It's just that her focus and awareness are really focused on this ability, and she's really seeing it for what it is. And this goes across the whole board of soul abilities, soul senses. If you don't know where to look, you're not going to be able to see it for what it is. When you're able to sense where it is, this makes sense. This will make sense to the people that understand. But and maybe, you'll rethink this once you do understand. But once you're focused on that little bit that you do understand, that's when the spectrum starts to really become more clear. The more you focus on it, the more your attention's on it. And then you start to see your abilities, whatever soul sense we're talking about, whatever soul sense we're talking about, whatever soul ability we have, you see it for what it really is. So think of it this way. When you start to recognize it, you're just sensing the tip of the iceberg. There's more to uncover there. Okay. And it's the same thing when you have a premonitional dream. That is just the tip of the iceberg of your abilities. That's just you. Hey, Fred, what's up, bud? That's just you having your focus. Oh, it's got my focus. But you're just seeing that tip of the iceberg. You know, icebergs, there's more underneath the water. That's where you are. It's there. Holy crap, a whole new world. A whole fantastic point of view. I was an Aladdin kid. Ooh. I don't know if I'm allowed to have that on my podcast thing, this thing. Okay, I cleared my throat again. Okay, now that Fred has joined the party. Hey Fred, what's up, bud? Now that you know my perspective of what's gone on with Claire, now let's get to the meat. We got the meat and how to handle these empath abilities. So, one thing I can probably check off the list for you because you're listening to this, and we can check off the list for Miss Claire, as well as the police officer that I was talking about that I'm not going to include in the podcast. Is your first step is awareness of the concept of clairempathy. Having awareness that you take on others' emotion, that is the first step in the process of understanding this ability. Unfortunately, this step takes self-reflection. It takes curiosity and maybe a wing and a prayer to come across this concept. Ultimately, if you don't understand, perceive, or could consider that your emotions are being hijacked by someone else's emotions, then it's going to be a difficult ability to have control of. It's just not even in your world of understanding. Reading this, or actually saying this, however, already shows you've overcome the hardest part of taking control of this ability. And that's just knowing it's a thing. So here's where you can breathe a sigh of relief, because that really is the hardest part. Congratulations. Why are all my images looking like crap on my block? Every single one of them. That's not good. All right, whatever. Oh, where are we? Okay, step 2. If you are aware of the concept of clairempathy, and you are, you need to objectively determine if what you are experiencing is in fact an empathetic response. Now, this is not it happens once and you determine it. Like, yep, that just happened. And yep, I'm a clairempath. It's going to take multiple happenings for you to tell the difference between the inner talk of, is this my own emotion or is my emotion a direct result of absorbing another's emotion? Okay, that's the inner talk you have to have going on. With enough logical deductions, you may understand that the feelings you have may very well be your own as a result of your own emotional response. In this case, it would not be clairempathetic. And don't be sad. Don't be sad. There's plenty of other Claires for you to have. Alternatively, your logical deductions may result in you uncovering your heightened empath ability. Am I or am I not? This is the decision you need to make. If you can't figure it out, I'd recommend writing down your experiences. Then review what you wrote down. Do your explanations have facts, or are they colored only by your own perception? Objective, subjective. I love those words. Those are good words. Those are the best words. This skill of being objective, is a skill that anybody exploring their soul abilities, their soul senses, their psychic abilities, their soul journey. This is a skill you need to be able to discern. This is a skill you need to be able to have, is to discern your fact versus reality. Now, this could be its own topic at some point, but nonetheless, in order to own this soul sense, you need to decide if it is yours or not. Yeah. Next up is if you decide, you know what? I'm owning this. I have clairempathetic abilities. Furnace is going off again. Fred, don't make me swear. It's everything in me to not swear at him. Once you have decided, yes, I am an empath. Once you've decided to sit in that power, in your power, and take the ownership of your clairempathetic abilities, now is the time to take responsibility by taking control. We all have free will, and you get to choose your course. Do you turn it off? Do you let it take control of you? You can switch it off and be responsible for your emotions, or you can keep it on and let others' emotions take you for a ride. You have a choice. You may not imagine that this would be, that this could be a step in taking control, because wouldn't you want to choose to take control? Seems pretty logical, but I would be doing a disservice to this whole soul journey if I didn't tell you that you have a choice in the matter. You make choices. It's free will. We all have choices. Everything to do with soul abilities, the soul world, it's about making choices. And this is just another one that you have the pleasure of deciding. And maybe this is just one of those easy ones for you. Okay, I want to take responsibility for my abilities. You've chosen to do something about the ability. This is where you take responsibility to put it away when it's not wanted. Go to your room. What is it? Go home, clairempathy, you're drunk. That made Fred shut up. Thanks, Fred. So, taking control and being able to turn it off will benefit you, so your energy doesn't become affected by others' energy, especially the painful stuff. So here are your options. One is what Claire in our story and her experience, she brought this one to the forefront. Your attention may become more focused on this soul ability once you see it as a possibility of your soul senses. So let your attention pick it up so you can get an understanding of the full impact that this sense actually has on you. Also, so you can be aware of how unaware you have been with this sense, because there's something in that too. There's something to appreciate in that. Discovering that you knew something about this ability without even knowing its real implications, it's without knowing how it was really affecting you, This is something to discover and shows you that there is still more to discover. That is a gift of growth. Awareness of how unaware you've been opens the possibilities of what more there is to discover. So if you see that iceberg of, I'm an empath, you start focusing on it and then you see what's underneath the water. You start seeing how much it really has affected you, how it really does affect you, how much you really do take in. Remember that at one point you didn't understand fully what was going on. And with that, there's more going on for you to discover that could have nothing to do with your clairempathetic abilities, could have to do with mediumship. So that one little thing that seems like one little thing, it becomes an iceberg. And then there's the whole South Pole to discover. Whew, yeah, that was a good parallel. Damn, I'm good. I'm good. And then look over here, it's Mars. The second thing you could do, and I mentioned in the last podcast episode, was when you are in the moment and you are realizing what's happening. You realize that you're taking on the emotions of somebody else that's in the room. You recognize it and you go, oh crap, I see what's happening. For times like this, when you become aware that the impact is happening right now, you are in the moments of receiving other people's energy. Use your mind's eye. Imagine that your energy, your aura, your energy bubble is filling the entire room. Why that visual? Because that's kind of what's happening. Your energy bubble is absorbing and feeding this energy information to you. Now imagine that bubble. Then imagine it shrinking back into encompass only you. If you have a hard time visualizing it, imagine, if you will, that your I was thinking, what was it? It was, I don't know, because there was another way to do this. Okay, I just thought of this. I'm gonna wing it. If you are kind of heightened with your hearing ability, okay, close your eyes and imagine that you're listening to something very far away. Okay. And then bring your focus of where you're hearing closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. So imagine you're listening to whatever's going on across the street. Okay. You're focused on across the street. Now bring it closer. It's outside the house. Now bring it closer. It's in the other room. Now bring it closer. It's behind the couch, which is 6 feet away from me. Now bring it closer. It's right behind your ear. Now bring it closer. It's in your head. Okay. That's just a different way of bringing the focus in closer, bringing that energy and focus in to you. See if that one works. Let's see if that one makes the cut. I don't know. But this exercise is a conscious effort to draw in your reception. Draw that web, that bubble that is kind of has its little fingers way out beyond you, and bring those fingers in. Bring that web in. Shrink it in very, very close to you. And that way, your reception isn't across the room, taking in all the energy. It's right close to you, and it's far from danger. It's far from the danger zone. And another thing I want to pass along, and you hear it all the time, meditation. This is a way to temper your energy absorption by keeping yours as stable as possible on a daily basis. If you're an empath, you know the instability, you know the ups and downs. Getting control of your energy One way to do that is with meditations. It's a way of keeping it steady. This is like I think of meditation as your exercise to maintain soul health, that stable energy. Just like walking is an exercise to maintain body health. Regular meditation will help maintain the stability. Now, how regular? That's up to you. It really depends on where your energy is at most of the time. If you're um I would say a happy-go-lucky kind of person, I would say your energy is pretty good and it really doesn't need much maintaining if it's naturally like that. But, everybody's different. It could be once a day for 10 minutes. It could be 3 times a day for 30 minutes. It could be once a week for an hour. What's important is that you're able to tap back in and you feel comfortable being there. If you're finding that you're spacing it out where it's really becoming a burden, if it's becoming stressful, then shorten your meditation times or shorten how often you go without your meditations. So up to you. It's your balancing act. You have to know and feel when it's working for you. It takes some experimentation. It's not going to be right away. And if you need a little one-on-one on this, check out my meditation basics for developing psychic abilities and other soul abilities on my blog. The last comment that Claire made in her email. Now what? What should I do with this? So, let's say you have this ability. You've discovered it. You're now putting effort into controlling it. What do I do with this? What do I do with this superpower? This is your soul journey. Bye. No. You discover more abilities. You've opened the door. It's time to explore more. Remember? Iceberg. Antarctica. Mars. This makes sense to me. I don't know if it's going to make sense to anybody else, but it's time to explore more. Maybe something to think about is your purpose in this soul journey. What will it do to help other people? If this is on your mind, then it's best to check out another blog post, or in this case, a podcast from a couple episodes ago. Control your psychic abilities by creating your intention. It's really purpose in there too. Probably didn't name that the best. Okay, so this is where you take control. Once you feel like your understanding of your empath abilities is a little more under control, what do you do with it? I don't know. You got to figure that out. But I can help. I can help. I have questions I ask that I think really helps people kind of see things differently, maybe clarify things a little bit. And we can do that with a development session if you want. So that's going to do it for this episode of NextGen Medium, the podcast. Yeah, I do development sessions. It's a 45-minute chat with you over video chat about whatever you want, spiritually speaking. In this instance, maybe you want some validation that you have clairempathy. Maybe you need to roll over some examples. Am I in the right, am I thinking of the right stuff? Am I focusing on the right place? Maybe you're noticing that they're heightening like our Claire did. Maybe you need to get control and you want me to talk to you specifically. I can do that. Go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and you can flip through my calendar and find a day that's good for you. And we'll sit and have a little chat. You can check out the blog and vlog and other podcasts at nextgenmedium.com. Hey, if you just want a reading, we could do that too. Just go to the blog or just go to the podcast and click on book an appointment and you should be good. Add your name to get emails about upcoming NextGen Medium stuff. You'll have to scroll down. I think that, Yeah. I think you're gonna have to scroll down to the footer in my website, and you can see I got news, content releases, new training stuff, and chances for free readings and development sessions. That's like a newsletter thing. I respect your privacy. My eyes only. Nobody else gets to see that. I'm not selling that to people. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest for all of your social media liking needs. Until next time, have a pleasant rest of your day. And to all of you listening from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Fairfax, Virginia, USA, I'm going to say this right. Linköping, I think I'm saying that right. Linköping, Sweden, and Forest Lake in Queensland, Australia. Goodbye. Be safe, and I'll chat with you later. See ya, bye. All right, we did it. High five. Man, I was really struggling in the beginning there. It was kind of painful. And thanks for being quiet for the rest of the show, Fred. Fred the Furnace. And to you, smash that like button. Smash it. I love that people say that, and I think it's completely absurd that I say that. So that's why I say it. Check out the links in the description for the podcast, blog, social media, the website. You can also donate at nextgenmedium.com, book an appointment with me, and check out the blog and all the other fun stuff there. Don't forget to sign up for that newsletter. I got some big things in the works, and you might want to be a part of it if development is important to you. Wink, wink. All right, that does it. Thank you for joining me. Let's have one more sip of cold, rotten, chewy coffee. Cheers to another episode, and I will catch up with you with a new episode very soon. Bye!